they know to both, because they're also not just asked to photograph, but they also have to do illustration and painting. And they have to connect their knowledge again to a different media, which they have to then tell stories through those means as well, which also pushes them to write more because then they feel more connected. So watching them realize that not only through this process is their knowledge extremely, they have a lot of knowledge, but knowing that their knowledge is important enough to teach other people around the world, and it will.
Wow.
And so not only do we do this project as far as the workshop and working with the students, but we also have a library of books. We have 5 other books in circulation, published books in circulation right now that are, this is ours, 2 from Kenya, 1 from a detention center in Florida, and 1 from Brooklyn, New York, and 1 from New York City. And we use these books as well to become a platform to talk about diversity, to talk about other cultures, to talk about similarities. And the students also do lessons with these books, right there in the workshop itself. So it really gives them a sense that their voices are being part of this conversation and valued, and to watch them discover how much they know is, I think, it's like this aha moment of a light going off in their head, and then it just, and also for them, the writing becomes so much more fluid and exciting and solid because they realize they have all this information through this process.
I'm going to arc back to the hinterland of Guyana because it is so different and so strange to many people who have never seen it. And of course, you had your own personal experience with Guyana and the jungle and so on. But I want to tap into the experience in Georgetown at Queen's College with Karen and Michelle. Which of you was at Queen's College?
We were both.
You were both there.
Yeah.
All right. So, what was that experience like for you when you went to the school? Well, how did this unfold? Were the students prepared before you arrived? Did you have to introduce the program when you arrived? How did this happen?
A little bit of both. Some were prepared and some were not. What we did on the first morning we were there, we had a general assembly and we introduced the program to the entire community in basically broad strokes. Then we basically met with the students who had signed up or who were selected or volunteered for the program in a classroom. And again, we spoke to them in greater detail about what to expect. What was that like for me? It's always emotional going back to Queen's College and interacting with the students there. Invariably, I see myself and my younger self, and that is usually quite emotional. To see children embrace, as Elizabeth said, a different way of learning, to see them discover things about themselves that they did not previously know. For instance, some kids assume, gee, I'm a poor artist, I can't draw, I'm not going to do this. Why? But as the days went by and they did engage, right, they realized, you know what? Not only can I do this, but I'm damn good at it, Brian. And that's that aha moment, right, is very rewarding. And of course, with it comes all of the emotions again, because I do remember moments when I, as a kid, and even as an adult, when I experienced those aha moments, when I tried things that I previously had not tried because I thought I would be an abject failure. And then I gave in, I allowed myself to experience it, to do it. And then I realized, well, you know what? I'm good at this, right? And that's a very special thing. And so that's one of the things that that touched me when I was at both Queens College and at Bina Hill.
And you, Michelle?
I think I have, as I've gotten older, I've really reflected on the significance of my college experience. And it really has struck a chord in me as to how valuable that experience was. So when this opportunity presented itself for me to return to my school, to really be there as a mentor, an encourager to the students, I really jumped at the opportunity, and I was not disappointed. I was really struck by how positively they responded to a totally new program. I was encouraged by the way they stuck with it, even though they may not have been confident in their creative skills. And I really identified with where they were in terms of not knowing what you have within you and having someone there to really stir those gifts up for you. So it was really a positive experience for me, and I relish it. I wish I could have been there the whole 2 weeks, but I couldn't, and Karen keeps rubbing it in, when I say, oh, I wish I was at the new community, she would say, well, that ship has sailed.
Selwyn.
Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah. And the other thing that always strikes me, or struck me this last time too, is that, nearly 40 years later, I'm in a position where I am able to participate in the alumni organization here.
Mm-hmm.
And the alumni organization here is in a position where we can actually, as a group, give back, right? And so to be able to be back at my alma mater, right, and to be representing all of those who weren't able to go, right, was really a privilege, and I appreciate that. I just want.
Let me just go into the chat. Well, Lance said, nice music by. Okay, Lance.
Trust
James said, this message is for Michelle and Karen. Where do the organization go from here in maintaining the work that was done in Guyana? How will E Squared be involved in the future? That's an excellent question.
Michelle?
To be determined. I mean, when we looked at the evaluations that the participants completed, over 80% of them wanted E Squared to come back. They wanted there to be some kind of follow-up. So it's just a matter of finding the time on our calendars and the resources that we need to really make it happen again. It doesn't feel like it could be just a one-time thing.
Mm-hmm.
Really, from the students certainly want to have E Squared back. They love the interaction with all the educators and everyone there. So we have to make this happen again, Elizabeth.
What was a defining moment for you personally, Michelle?
A defining moment for me was really one of the activities that we engaged in was looking through a makeshift viewfinder. It was simply just a square of paper with a hole in it. And at first, when I was engaged in the exercise, I was like, oh, this is kind of simple, But then what I realized is that the next day we were out in the community and working with the students and taking pictures of the environment. And then it really hit me how important that simple activity was, how depending on how you frame the photo, you can get a totally different story out of it. But I was learning as much as the kids were, I believe, in terms of looking at being able to look at an image and see what the image tells you, and looking at how taking a photo from different positions can really tell a totally different story. So I was a learner as well in that environment. So that's one.
Did you at some point feel a connection with your child, your inner child, as this was happening?
Absolutely. because I never thought of myself as a creative person.
Uh-huh.
And I was encouraged by Roz and Elizabeth and the other ladies to really get in there and play with the watercolors. And it just felt so freeing, so liberating, and actually calming to me. Mm-hmm. So it's something that I hope one day to spend some more time doing. So it was very positive.
And at what point did each of you was able to say, this is working?
Well, for me, we had two different schools, and to hear the testimonials from the students on the final day, I mean, it seemed as though they were having fun.
No, not the students and their testimonial. You personally, at what point before that, like during the week, mm-hmm. did you realize? Were you able to say to yourself, this is not bad after all. It is working.
This is not bad after all for me?
Yes. No, for you. For you.
Yeah. Clearly, when I was able to take a better photograph. I mean,
really?
Absolutely. Because to quote one of the students, before this, I basically took pictures to document that I was there, that this thing actually happened. I was in this place at this time. I never really took photographs, right, with an eye toward telling a particular story. I mean, sometimes it happened, sometimes it didn't. It was just pure happenstance. But to be able to take a camera and simply to piggyback on what Michelle spoke of, use the viewfinder, to come up close, to basically stoop down, lie on the floor, take an upward shot, take a downward shot, and to see, right, the same object appear totally different depending on the perspective, right? It drove home to me that, images, right, this whole visual literacy is very important. Mm-hmm. That we can, I can take this photo, this phone that I have here, and depending on what shot I present, it may or may not even look like a phone, and I can tell all kinds of stories.
So, what point did you?
That happened when we in Bena Hill, mm-hmm. when we were out in the field, just taking pictures of mm-hmm. Cultural events.
Wow! And you, Michelle, when was it for you?
I think it was about day 3 or maybe late on day 2. I think that really brought home the importance of the work that we were doing, and really being open enough to learn from the experience as well really helped me along the way. And I can't wait, for the group to work as a part of my work, as a part of my vocation in West Virginia. I have programs that serve youth. So I can't wait for East Fair to come to West Virginia so that the kids here can learn about Guyana and all the other countries they visited. So it's significant work, and I really just like the fact that we can be a part of teaching new skills to the students of Queens College.
And this question is for all three of you. Mm-hmm. Well, more so you and Karen. The children. I've asked you a lot about how you feel and so on. And Karen, you had started to tell me about the testimonials. Mm-hmm. At what point did you realize that the students were really engaged and really appreciative of this?
Okay, so at Bena Hill, mm-hmm. right? They were about 17 or 18 students in the class. Mm-hmm. And when we were brainstorming, or when I was working with my group about culture, our topic was culture, that the girls began to speak openly about how our culture handles or treats girls when they first begin their cycle. That's generally something that women tend not to speak openly about. And here it was that we were in a mixed group, and the girls felt empowered enough to begin to talk about how their community treat girls at the on the first onset of cycle.
And what is that? What did that say to you as a woman?
That said to me that those girls in that room at that time, including the boys, and by the way, there was no giggling, right? That they felt empowered, right? And they felt mature enough and safe enough at that point in time to speak openly about things that I don't want to use the word taboo because it's not quite taboo, but things that we don't discuss in quote unquote polite company, right? That we were able, the teachers, right, we were able to create a safe space, right, where those kinds of things can begin to emerge, right? And it was at that point, I said, you know what? This is going to be good.
And you, Michelle?
I think a couple of occasions came to mind when they had to interview us as the leaders of the group. But that was kind of, some of them they had really insightful questions. Another occurrence during the week as a part of another project, I met with some of the parents, and one of the parents commented on how excited her daughter was about the fact that they were coming from Queens College, who went back and were part of this group. So the fact that they were going home and talking to the parents about it, I thought that was really, that was, that's how excited they were. On the day that we were out in the community taking pictures, they got comfortable enough to really ask me about my career and how I got into it, and just informally, just us walking along the street. So I guess just the fact I really felt the importance of us being there as mentors to really inspire them to be all that they can be. And then maybe one day pay it forward and come back to Queens College to help students who are underserved. But those situations come to mind.
Elizabeth, but before I ask you this question, let me go to the chat room. Lance said, the need to develop a model that can be used in between visits. The visits would then be used for monitoring, evaluation, and adjustments. Can this be done? Would you like to take a stab at that, Michelle?
Michelle?
I think that should be an Elizabeth question.
Elizabeth question? Okay. Elizabeth?
I think absolutely there can be intermediate lessons that happen before the next visit. I think the basis of the program is to enable storytelling and communication skills, leadership, storytelling, and to be able to get the students to feel confident enough to share their knowledge. And their book is going to be published very soon. And which will enable them, each child's going to be given a copy, the school will be given a library of them, and they will be able to, each one of these students, and I mentioned leadership, that every student that participated in this project will be able to take these books and that participated in this project will be able to take these books and use them to teach others. So they could actually lead a lesson for younger students. And they could bring these books and their voices and the other students around the world who's now they're very familiar with the other pieces of the library. They know they've learned all about the students from Kenya. They've learned all about the students in Florida and all about the students in New York through their experience of comparing and contrasting and reading and sharing. And and the books also come with lesson plans for all ages. So it can be tweaked to use in a variety of ways, so other teachers can pick up the library of books and use them in other classrooms. And we also hope to be in contact directly with we worked with a wonderful teacher named Miss Brown at Queens College, and we're hoping to stay in close contact with her to also see how this program affected her students as learners, and as well as the students in Northrop Grumman. We already have There are lots of conversations with NRDDB and Awakrama in order to get us back there to do further work with more students there, as well as their younger students through wildlife clubs there. So we're, I think these skills the students have learned as well. As far as one of the things we talked about, the students talked about in their testimonials, one of our questions when we interviewed them was, do you see this program, what you've learned in this program, affecting your ability as an academic, in your academic life? And we received answers everywhere from a junior physics student, a 16-year-old physics student saying, this program has taught me so much about writing, and I will be so much better at being able to list my ideas and being able to, even if I have to draw them out, to get my ideas generating. And I'm so much more confident about not being stuck with a white piece of paper, but I know how to put my ideas down through this process, and I can use the camera, and I can draw these images, and I can think about physics in a much more tangible fashion. We also had a student also mention from Bina Hill that she wants, speaking of girls, this is a girl who said before we got there, she was so afraid to speak out and share what she knew because she was so shy. And she said after this program, she could not wait to share her ideas, and she was not afraid to speak with adults. And she was so excited about how she felt because she had no idea she could do this. So I think it's lasting, and I think that we will be, East Squared will be doing everything we can to keep our contact with both communities.
I was actually going to ask if you guys were going to go back or you want to do this again. But a question for you, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
When you first designed this program, and I guess what is the results that you're getting now are some of your expectations. But have you ever had an experience, and specifically Guyana, where you got some results that you never really anticipated?
Every community we work with, there are always surprises. And with every child is their own incredibly individual voice.
Mm-hmm.
Surprises. There was a student in Northrop Panuni who I went head to head with because she was absolutely unwilling to draw. She said, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And I sat down with her and we talked all about it. We talked about her knowledge. We talked about what we really went through it, and we took apart her fear, and she was able to really. I left her alone to just try to work for a while. I went back and sat with her. By the end of the week, when it was time for when we were leaving, and they were doing a goodbye ceremony for us, for all of the teachers, this young woman stood up there with great confidence and said, I changed this week, and I've never been able to get through something I felt so negative about, and I did it. And I can't believe I could do it, and I had the skill to get through it, and I'm so proud of myself. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I know, Karen, you were there to hear that. It was kind of extraordinary because she's their head of their, I guess she's like head of student council there, and she's this poignant, strong girl, young woman, I should say, but she was absolutely stuck as a learner in that way, and she held on and didn't give up, and then couldn't believe her ability, and was so proud. And surprises. There's lots of surprises like that. As far as what every child, every person is a different kind of learner, and I think this program enables students to be able to grasp hold of different pieces of it to become successful.
Why didn't you give up? And I'll go a little further and ask you, why have you ever met a student or a situation like this that you felt it was beyond your reach, or the child or the person was beyond your reach? Maybe I should step back. Maybe I should not bother to encourage them. Have you ever had that?
I have indeed, where I have felt that way as an educator. I've been teaching for almost 2 decades, and I have worked in private independent schools. I have worked in juvenile detention centers, and I have worked in rural East Africa and Kenya, and I have worked in very, very remote places where English is a third language. And now I've worked in Guyana. As I was saying, there's moments where I've felt absolutely with my hands tied behind my back and I don't know what I'm doing because either I can't communicate the right way because they can't understand me, or they have a block. Working with girls incarcerated, there's a lot of blocks there, and again, it's. I think so much as for being an educator, you have to trust yourself that you have faith in that every child has the ability to learn, and I don't give up. So the answer to that question, I guess, is no, because I always work through it.
So Selwyn.
Yes, Karen.
I'd like to come back to one of a question you asked, I believe, Elizabeth, about maybe it was in response to Lance's question. Thank you, Lance, about sustainability. Right? Elizabeth and some of the members of her team are leaders in interdisciplinary studies. Right? So it's a way of using art in science, art as part of math, art to supplement physics, and so on. And I think that may be one area that we can explore through professional development at Queen's College and at some of the other institutions, providing our chapters and our various organizations are in agreement. So we would need not only deliver this is ours, but there are other mechanisms through which we can apply the same methodologies or teach the teachers so that when we're not there, these ideas can permeate the entire curriculum. I don't know if Elizabeth would like to add to that.
What you personally, Karen, was there a moment when and throughout the whole planning and so on, before you got to Guyana and everything, throughout this whole journey, was there a moment when you wondered, why am I doing this?
To some extent, I mean, post-trip, why am I doing that? Yes, I have
Post-trip.
Post-trip. Because there seems to be so much politics involved in everything that is done. Politics.
I'm not gonna let you run past that.
Of course.
Politics. How does that present itself?
Everything, everywhere. There's politics. There's politics in every organization, every club, every family, every community, and so on.
Let me ask you this question, and I mean all three of you.
Oh.
Especially Michelle. If there was no politics involved, if there was total buy-in, excitement, enthusiasm about these projects, how do you see, what vision do you have, or how do you feel this sort of freedom will unfold in what you can give to the children in Guyana, but Queen's College and wherever you choose to, present some of these projects?
How much time do we have? Really, I happen to believe, particularly since this last visit, that those of us up here, as well as those of us in Guyana, have lots to contribute. Right? Some of us may not realize it, right? But we do. And so I think that developing, working with kids, working with students, and empowering them, exciting them, right? Or making them feel excited to learn, right? And to explore themselves academically, intellectually, as well as socially, right? To be more rounded, right? To excel, or at least to try things, to try and fail, to get up and go again, having fallen down. So there's a lot of it. I mean,
let's say there are some alumni or some people who are eager to make a contribution but they don't know how. Give us a few bullets as to how they can contribute.
Well, financially,
Yeah.
right, to our organization, and intellectually. I think when we go back to Guyana, certainly we can coordinate our visits with the schools, or either Queen's College, or find yourselves a school, right, and go in and talk to the children. From my experience, they're very, particularly at Queen's College, they're not necessarily lacking from for the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? But they can benefit from those of us who've lived lives, right? For simple things like career counseling, right? To talk about what it is that we do day to day. How do we get from being a first former at Queen's College to sitting in front of Selwyn on a Sunday afternoon to talk about This Is Ours? What was that journey? And to just paint a picture for them, so that they can see that there are various paths to success, right? Define for them, or help them define success in terms other than financial, right? Financial is pretty good as well, right? But basically, and that goes for students and children in Guyana, as well as my own child here in Brooklyn, right? I I think we can all contribute a little bit to developing our children, right? Developing ourselves, developing our friends. But to me, it's so easy to work with kids. They're generally so receptive, right?
If you could appeal to those who might push back with some of these innovative ideas, what would you say to them?
I would say to be like the child, like that young lady at Beena Hill, right, who thought that she could not draw, refused to draw, drew, and then found out that she was actually pretty good and that there was value in it. So to those, to people who might be a little reluctant, right, take a leap of faith, do something, right, try it, see the response. Right. Last fall, when we were down in Guyana, working with the students during the workshop, the feedback from the alumni who participated was phenomenal. To be able to connect with the children, alumni who probably didn't think that they had much to contribute, because we like to believe, like, there's this subculture, like if you don't have a PhD, right, or you didn't excel in college, that somehow you have nothing to contribute. But that is so not true. So I would tell people, go back, right? Or go to your neighborhood school right here, volunteer, meet with the children, right? And then call me and tell me what your experience was.
And you, Michelle, anything to add?
There is a scripture that says, "For whom much is given, much is required." And I think as products of Queen's College, as products of Guyana, it's important for us to give back to our country, to our school, and really to give of our time, our talents, and our treasures to make a difference in the lives of others. Because for whom much is given, much is required.
So, how did this trip change each of you?
I think it has really invigorated me to continue to give back to not only just to Queen's College. I see my engagement in Guyana beyond just Queen's College. While there, I met with a dynamic man who's engaged in community development in the Berbice County. But really, it really reinforced my decision to really give back in a meaningful way, in a strategic way, to my country in general and to my school in particular. So it was an all-around positive experience for me, and I look forward to giving more of my time, my talent, and my treasures back to my country.
And Elizabeth, how did this change you?
I cannot even begin to tell you how much I learned from both opportunities. And um, um, I so badly want to continue working with Guyana and being part of bringing. I know there's been many conversations about bringing more arts to Guyana and bringing more, getting students more connected to, storytelling. And I think visual literacy and being aware of how we're in a visual literacy world. Everything we see now is visual media, and there's through these tools that This Is Ours teaches, it makes all students not only be part of the 20th century or 21st century, but it also enables, that question is so big because I learned so much, and I feel so honored to have been part of this experience and help lead these students through this experience and work with this amazing community of Queens College alum. It's been phenomenal, and I can't wait to go back and do more. And I want more.
And you, Karen, how did this change you?
I think it convinced me that what I am doing, right, is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that what Michelle and I and Saren and Liz and and everyone who is a part of any of these volunteer groups, right, and then we go back and we give, that we are able to make a difference, and I saw that.
Mm-hmm. And Karen, prior to leaving, experiencing the various challenges, the financial challenges, having to raise the funds, what kept you going? What inspired you, or what motivated you to keep on going?
Well, we made a commitment,
Mm-hmm.
right? We decided that we were going to go, and we were going to go.
Why women? Why only women?
It was not deliberate,
Mm-hmm.
right? My contacts are my contacts. The people who volunteer are the people who volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happened that 7 women volunteered.
What do you think this experience taught all of you? I don't know if you had a chance to have this conversation pro trip, but if you were to make a guess, what do you think this particular trip has taught all of you about cooperating, about commitment, about togetherness?
I think that it is very possible, and we proved it,
Mm-hmm.
to work cross-culture, cross-race, right, cross-discipline.
Ah.
Right? I am not a trained teacher. I'm not an educator, a trained educator.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mentioned to someone, I have a child, right? And therefore that makes me a teacher, right? But that I was able to apply my skills, Michelle her skills, Saren hers, and the other women, right, to do something.
Wow. If either of you, or any of you, could go back in time to high school, what would you tell yourself about art?
I would tell myself to give it a try, because I think growing up, I was always very timid when it came to anything creative. I was always good in math and science, and that made me a left brain kind of person.
Uh-huh.
But I would tell myself to be more engrossed in some kind of creative endeavor. I wish I had done more.
And in you, Karen, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, I would have long talks with myself, but what would I tell myself? Maybe I would tell myself that I might be surprised by myself in a few years.
Ah. And Elizabeth? Elizabeth?
Can you repeat the question? Because
Right, the question is, if you could go back in time to high school, what would you tell yourself about art?
for me, I wasn't good in math and science like Michelle. Art was my strength, and I am thankful every day for being encouraged to be an artist. I'm a professional artist, and I show my work around the world. And if I didn't have this voice and this language through art, I would not be able to give students what I am able to give them today. I would not be able to problem solve and be an analytic thinker as I am. So for me, back in high school, I had no idea. I kind of felt like I only had art. I wasn't going to be good at other things. I kind of felt like it was debilitating because I wasn't strong in the other, academic, what people assume academics are supposed to, you're supposed to be good at. And now through the arts and through my ability to teach, using the arts as visual literacy tools, I'm a very strong person, and I believe I have a very strong voice to help others. So I wish I would have known then what I know now, because I didn't feel very good about myself at that point, but now I realize how important it is.
Before we close, I want to ask you this, especially Elizabeth. If you had the students or a group of them in front of you to tell them about the end game or the sum of their effort, the benefit of the sum of their creative efforts, what would you tell them?
I think because they were so willing to share their voices, and boy did they have knowledge, that I think with Karen and Michelle and Saren, who come from Guyana, learned so much from each of these students. I think, first I want to tell them how proud I am of them, because I feel so honored, but I also think that their voice as part of this conversation to teach others around the world, especially as stewards of their environment and with climate change and global warming happening, they're becoming part of a very important conversation, and they're going to make a difference. Their voices are making a difference, and I'm really proud to be able to say that, and I hope that they all know that and believe that.
Thank you. And Michelle?
I think pride resonates with me as well. When I look at how they were engaged, when I look at the feedback that they gave, I was so proud that they were a part of it, that we share the same legacy of being college students and also being people from Guyana. I was just very, very proud of what they accomplished and how they got it, how they got the fact that the skills that they were learning in the workshop was not just limited to that, but it can really transfer into other areas of their lives. So I was just very, very pleased, very proud, very inspired by each and every one of them. Thank
you. And Karen?
Could you repeat the question?
Oh, Karen. Oh, Karen. All right. Here's the question. If you had a group of children in front of you that have gone through this program, what would you tell them would be the benefit of all their collective efforts, the collective creative efforts? What would you tell them?
That they have a voice, they have something to contribute, right? They have thoughts that are important, ideas that are important, and that that they need to continue to express themselves, right? Express themselves politely, firmly, and confidently, as they did in the program.
Awesome. Well, the time has come for us to close. And I want to say to each of you, thank you very much for your patience, because at the beginning we had some challenges with sound and so on. And so I want to thank you so very much for that. You were very informative, very articulate. Well, that is to be expected. But, thank you so much. And I hope that many who did not see this show live will take a look at the recording and sort of get something inspiring and motivating from it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. And